Reclaiming radiance is not just personal. When one woman remembers her worth, it creates a ripple. Today, we are talking about how that remembering begins, what it asks of us, and how it changes the way we show up in the world. So if you have ever felt disconnected from yourself, like your light slowly dimmed over time, then this conversation is for you. Welcome. We are going to go through the 3 core pillars of reclaiming radiance today, starting with pillar 1, which is losing your light, when we recognize when the radiance has dimmed. So we'll start out with the first question, ladies. Was there a time in your life when you realized you were disconnected from yourself or your light? Dr. Alicia, we'll start with you.
Thank you so much, Dana. I really appreciate this question. Yes, actually, my entire life's work has been based on the experience of disassociation affected by trauma. So for me, I remember a lot of my childhood from like exterior vision, kind of looking down the memories of visualizing me and the event around me. I also have had some really cool supernatural experiences in my lifetime, healing my thyroid, ending cycles of abuse when I was 13 and having an appearance of spirit leading me to end that cycle and speak my truth. But it took me a long time to come into my body and feel safe in my nervous system, and feel like my body was mine. And as I got on here, I was with Gwen and I was like, oh my gosh, like today is like a day where I'm not feeling like completely authentic radiance. Right? Like a lot has happened within my week. And so with that, it's like it's a constant reminder that it's not about perfection, right? It's about really understanding that we are souls with a body. We are souls with these beautiful vessels, and that connection kind of ebbs and flows, and it's about learning how to reconnect and reclaim our authenticity. I think, like our vessels, ourselves. Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, I think so many women can relate to that. Is there anybody that wanted to add to something that Dr. Alicia and Tika said? Erica, please.
Hi. I love what you had to say, Dr. Alicia. For me, it wasn't like a big epiphany moment, but it wasn't a series of just like little tiny quiet moments. It was like a plethora of like medium-sized moments, let's say. And now I definitely think, looking back, that there was multiple moments in my life where I took a moment to think and step back and think, this serve me too? Do I matter too in this moment? And that's something that I've always really struggled with. And I think it's really important to just realize that it doesn't have to be this big moment. Sometimes it is those quiet little moments that the growth happens.
And Gwen, would you like to add to that?
Yeah. For me, it was a lifetime of giving to other people, so that I didn't even really recognize that I was supposed to feel radiant until I had several moments of something really needs to change. And then having those moments where I almost drove into a mental health hospital just to get a vacation was when I was like, okay, this is not right. And then it still took years after that to figure out, oh, this is about me not feeling me at all.
Yeah, and that is very relatable. I think we've all wanted a vacation at some point, no matter how that came to us. Samantha, please share.
Yeah, I think I was in a similar boat where you just give, and caretaking. For me, it was caretaking in the way of people pleasing and making sure that everyone got what they wanted, almost like I was a mediator. And it took me being in my apartment, walking through in total silence for me to finally hit like this moment where I'm living alone in my apartment, paying my bills. No one's around. Like I'm supporting myself. No one's supporting me. I'm not supporting them. And yet I'm still waiting for someone to be like, good job. You did it. that's exactly what you're supposed to do. Okay, well, now you should go do this. Right. And so this is why I love solitude so much, is because in the quiet and in the alone, you're able to actually hear yourself a bit more. And I think if I hadn't gotten to that point, however I had gotten there, working and like essentially just like, I need a job and going, and getting it and standing there, I wouldn't have had that moment. And mine wasn't loud either. It was just like you walking, and then all of a sudden you slow down, and I just looked at the ground and I literally just told myself, I don't want this shit anymore. I'm perpetuating my own victim mentality. I'm perpetuating my own level of people pleasing. And I wanted to take that for myself and be like, oh, it's me now. So what am I going to do? So it was that moment of finally having a moment of quiet where it was able to actually come in and I could receive it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's also very relatable. And Marla, you have created an entire brand on being the radiant woman. What did it look like for you when you lost your light?
Yeah, it started with the cover up. So there was a point that I felt something off in my body. I voiced that to my husband, and he said, "You have everything. Why would you be so upset?" So I would say about a year later from the cover up phase, I realized I had no longer felt an emotion, one being sadness or joy. So I was really going through that year of numb and not realizing I had sort of missed the beat, and I was going in a cycle and not really feeling. And in the uncovering, by checking out a psychotherapist that would be good for my son, because I thought he was the one that needed some assistance in his behavior, she concluded that all four of my children were doing just fine from what I shared. They seemed to get along with parents and peers and siblings, and that maybe it would be good for me to come to visit her again and make the appointment with her. And so I did that. And from that road, it led me to self-discovery, and I found more solace on my yoga mat, and then entered a yoga teacher training and just started to uncover something inside of me, for one, that had always been there, but I had never recognized. And in the same breath, it was also opening up new channels, opening up my intuition to see that I am this creative being and we can all magnify each other from that magnificent state. So that's where the radiance came in. It was like all roads lead to radiance, and let's go. Once I got the fire, it was lit, and I want to keep lighting that up for my family, friends, peers, and just be in rooms where we can elevate each other and be in spaces where, yeah, life could be very uncomfortable and sticky. We might not know why, but we can do this part of it alone and then part of it together. We need each other. So thanks for the question, Dana. And it's great to be here.
Of course. And Rosalie, we'd love to hear what that looked like for you when you lost your light, and what that looked like and felt like in your body and in your mind, and how you dealt with
Thank
that.
you, Dana. It's so great to hear everyone's responses. And I love how we all just weave this quilt of clarity now after the fact of all of our experiences. And just like many of you, I was a natural giver, empathic person who always wanted to give. And I didn't realize that didn't mean I have to like sacrifice myself in the process. And so I'm like many of you, I've also hit this rock bottom point. I think, Samantha, you mentioned that, where you just kind of are fed up with your situation. And it's this rude awakening that I don't love the life I'm living. And I need to release this victim consciousness in order to own and resource my energy within. And when I did that and continued and decided to live in alignment with my truth authentically, no matter what people say, if it was bad or made me selfish or whatever it was, the projection that people placed upon me, I realized if I followed my own inner guidance, like Marla mentioned as well, and my intuition, it never led me astray. And so I realize now we all have that within us. And when we move from that place, we can truly give from our overflow and not feel this resentment, because many of us are heart-led leaders who want to give and be of service and help create change in the world. and we put ourselves at the very last, end of the line. And many of us don't realize that is a disservice to humanity. And so when we can truly own who we are, own our power, and stop self-abandoning and see our own inner divine power and being within ourselves and within others, then we truly can give more than we ever could have in the past.
Thank you so much for sharing. And it sounds like this first pillar is where we all come to some sort of self-awareness about the reality of the situation. And so then we move into pillar number 2, which is the wake-up call, which is the moment or the series of moments that actually shifted the way you think and feel and all the things. So Erica, I believe it was you that mentioned it was a series of sort of medium-sized moments. Do you want to tell us a little more about those moments when you knew something had to change and how you went about making those changes?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it wasn't this big aha moment in my life. Looking back now, I can see the moments that it happened. And it really was just a time where I tried to put myself first, which was very, very hard for me. Just like common theme with our other ladies on the panel is just that we were people pleasers and givers and empathic. And, through trauma in my lifetime, it has created this response. But when you take that 3 seconds, even, I tell new clients 3 seconds to think to yourself, do I matter too? In this situation, do I matter too? Am I giving to a detriment of myself? It is not a bad thing to be a giver. But when you overextend that skill, then it becomes a weakness. So for myself, like I said, it was just those moments, and where even when people were doubting me, even when it maybe didn't seem like the right time, I just listened to my intuition and my gut, and I knew that I wanted to take a risk, or I wanted to put myself first in that situation, and it served me tenfold.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. Did anyone here have that one single defining moment that you just knew this needs to change? Rosalie, please share with us.
For me, it was my daughter's birth in 2020. Before that, there were certain instances where I was kind of like a little wake-up call each time. And so I was already on the journey of rediscovering who I was and continuing to like gather up my own energy. But that was a very defining moment for me. She was born at 23 weeks, at 1.5 pounds, extremely premature, brain bleeds, hole in the heart, intubated because she couldn't breathe. All the things that, as a first-time mother, is your worst nightmare. And so I really entered just this hopelessness, despair really quickly. And I realized in that moment, it felt like a punishment by God. I was like, how could this happen after I'm deepening into my faith, deepening into my soul, deepening into alignment? And I realized it was really an opportunity and a portal of expansion to really embody who I said I was becoming. And in that moment, I had the choice to either continue to grovel in despair and self-pity, or stay self-empowered, self-source, and hold this frequency of love, gratitude, and abundance no matter what. And so that whole process of my daughter being in the hospital for 5 months fortified me in my spirit and who I was. And I heard God's voice in the middle of the night tell me when I had to go home from the hospital and leave her there for the first, like they finally discharged me after my birth. And God told me, like, Lily will rise from this, just like her name says, Lily Rose. And that was the name we had chosen for her. And I thought, really, God, is that true? Like, could this really happen? It's really tough. They even told me, like, abort the pregnancy. It's like, I mean, they didn't tell me that flat out, but they said, these are the statistics. She's going to most likely have 2 or more severe disabilities. Will you keep this pregnancy? And I decided to go for it. I couldn't live with myself if I didn't. And so after hearing God's voice, I thought, if this is true, God, if she will really rise, like you say, I will commit myself to knowing who you are. And sure enough, after 5 months, she overcame one thing after the other. And and throughout that time, there were so many instances where I felt like I was going to fall back into fear, fall back into despair, fall back into hopelessness. And I remember that voice of God, and that kept me true on my path. And I realized being grateful for the fact that I was a mom, that my daughter was here, truly transformed that situation the best way possible. And now through that process, I teach people, women, anyone who wants to learn how do I live in alignment with God? How do I have faith in myself? How do I trust and have surrender even when things are super hard? And I truly believe there's this perception where if we can surrender all of our, because we don't know everything, we're humans in this earth. And so if we can trust and surrender in all that is, which is God, we willingly receive answers because we're open to receiving. And when we have that trust in this higher power and all that is, we naturally deepen into our own self-trust because we are one. This is unity consciousness. And so part of the fear is the unknown. But when we can live from that place, we can truly live as creators of our life, truly, and have true lasting peace and freedom.
Thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing that. And I think that we can all agree. I think everybody that is hearing your story is with you and with Lily. And she now has many, many big fans and lots of hugs sent her way, as well as your way. But I'm wondering, as we're kind of absorbing that, and it's such an inspiring story, was there anybody that resisted the change and the shift? Maybe you had to be radically honest with yourself about what needed to happen. And I see Samantha's hand going up, so take it away.
I'm like, yes. So like I was in the apartment, like I told you all, and I was like, I don't want this shit anymore. So it was like a phase, right? The first phase. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting clarity. This feels so good. This is amazing. I finally know what I want for my life. And then when I was in college, that's when I had first met my husband. But during this phase where I got this clarity, we weren't together. We had a lot of roughness with our family blending and being accepted as a couple. And so it was a very heated phase. And for me, it was hard to be honest with myself about what I wanted and stand up for me in the face of his family. And yet I was very angry. I was like, why do I have to be the one that is understanding? Why do I have to be the one that is fighting for what they want? Don't they see how people are being hurt in this? Like, why is it that I have clarity that I now have to take the brunt of everything? And it almost felt like being responsible for my life felt like I was being punished, because that saying, which I don't actually believe in, know better, do better. I think that's another form of obligation. I think you know better, you choose on what to do better, because there's many things I know better on, but I don't have the capacity to do better on everything. And so, but in this phase, I was like, this sucks a double dollar sign. Like, it was awful, because I'm like, well, I want what I want. I'm advocating for myself, but it seems like I'm the bitch. I'm the asshole. I'm the one who's constantly angry and grieving the relationship I should have had and the relationships I think I should have had. So for me, it was very much, I'm angry that I have to be the responsible one. I'm so grateful I'm the responsible one, because then it also helped me direct the solution to where I wanted to go. And so each moment that something conflicting came up, I was like, all right, let's handle this. But at the same time, at the end of the day, I was so emotionally spent that I was like, why? Why do I have to fight this hard? Can't people just see they're wrong? And so going up, it felt like such an uphill battle, because in our head, it seems like we see the transformation and we rarely talk about the process, which I'm so grateful all of us are here today to talk about that. And we almost romanticize that transformation is supposed to be glorious and feel good all the time. But it's really this sequence and series of shit moments that make you feel like crap most of the time. And then maybe you can throw a joyous moment in there. Maybe you can throw a moment of gratitude. And so for me, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty at all. It was a monumental event in my life that caused a lot of dissonance internally and externally in our family. And we're in a completely different direction today. But it was awful. Like, I'm not gonna, like, I can't sit here and say it was great, but there were moments where I was so proud of myself that even in the crap and the muck of it, I still chose me. And I think that's what had me keep going, was because my core value is still honesty, first and foremost, to myself, and integrity. And I couldn't sit there and look at them and be like, yeah, I'll turn away from your son. Absolutely effing not. And so, but in facing that came a whole different set of repercussions. And that I don't think I fully understood as like a woman who finally wanted to stand her ground. And so it was just so sloppy. But there were so many moments where I was like, did we do the right thing? Should we have gone this way? Should we have done that? And you just constantly question yourself. So for me, the process was very sloppy, but I think I anchored in the core value of I have to be honest to myself and I have to be honest to their parents, because if this ever goes anywhere, I can't ever look back in that moment and be like, I lied straight to your face, because that's not at the core of who I am. I can't sit here and lie to your face. So it was messy, but I'm so glad that I chose to still opt in and do it anyway.
And I think that's the part of it that people need to give themselves grace for, is the messiness, because I wish everything was clean and smooth and nice, but it rarely is if real change and transformation is happening. Are there any other ladies that would like to add to your single moment or the series of moments that were the shift that began to transform you? Dr. Leisha, please.
So for me, it created the Amazing You methodology. It created the basis of identity and soul psychology that I now teach, because I literally went through near-death experiences, or like through each level of reclaiming and saying, no, I take ownership of me. So it wasn't like one defining event. It was first my body began breaking down, and at 21 I had ovarian and cervical cancer, had 6-month treatments. I went to a naturopath, which is really cool. Then right after that, I went to yoga teacher training, and I was healing my adrenals and my entire endocrine system. So my body just broke down, and I had to learn that it was my body, that my body keeps the score, right? How to feed it, how to take care of it. And then right when I was like, okay, everything is good, then I realized, oh, I was in this mental anguish. And I remember sitting in the bathtub and just watching like negative thoughts just go down the drain, and like realizing, whoa, I have thoughts. Like I have thoughts, like they're having me, they're just eating me alive at this moment. And going, can I direct these thoughts? Can I think something differently? Can I have discernment against my own thoughts? And from that, even though I had lived on an ashram and I'd said mantra and I'd sat with the rosary for like years at that point, I was like I could do it then, but I couldn't like question myself. It was like everything was a reality. And so that's when I began that. And then when I was in my marriage and there was a lot of emotional abuse and narcissistic stuff and things that I accepted from my childhood that were just like love, right? Criticism, hatred, not feeling good enough, all of that came in and literally like tried to choke me out and just tell me I can't feel and not believe my feelings and silence my feelings and make me feel crazy. I love the book Crazy Makers. And so then from that place, like I had to go, wait a minute, do I have the right to feel? And what are these feelings? When I got a divorce, I was like, I have no control over my life. I don't know how to make money. I'm working my butt off. Things are being taken. Like how do I have any trust with myself to be the authority in my life? And I had to reclaim that piece, which I really think is our etheric field and like my own energetic field and my own vibration. And then from there, when I had that sense of self, that's when I realized relationships were crashing around me. And I was doing that mirror image of everybody, right, that we're talking about here. And that's when I realized I don't know how to relate to money, and I don't know how to trust myself with that. And how do I do that? And I started building on those pieces of expression that we have in the world. And so I think that we're multi-layered beings. I really, really believe that. And I think that we have that one soul, as Rosalie said, and I was in tears because I have a Lily too, Rosalie. And I think that we have that defining moment. But for me, maybe it's the CPTSD, but it just is like, I get those choices again and again and again, and remembering that we have the choice to have that discernment every single time that it comes up. And it's not a road to perfection. Like one day, everything's going to be perfect and it's going to be figured out. No, I get to choose. Do I go towards the validation of this pain or the struggle or whatever is happening and the outside world, or do I go towards that God-led world, as Rosalie was saying, and Samantha was saying, like, and go over here? And I think when we regulate that choice as normal, that's kind of freedom.
Exactly. And you perfectly are leading us into pillar 3, which is reclaiming radiance through perspective. And you've just explained how your perspective sort of shifted there. Gwen, I would love to hear from you about what reclaiming radiance required of you in kind of an everyday practice, and how that changed for you.
Piggybacking on what Dr. Lisha was saying, it's ongoing. It's like an onion. There's constantly something coming up, coming out. Like I had an impromptu ritual the other day that I didn't even know that I needed, about forgiving myself for something that I was still hanging on to. And it's that grace that you mentioned, Dana, the being kind, accepting that these things happen, stuff comes up, I will still make mistakes, I am human, and being kind about that, allowing myself the grace that I would give to my bestie, and allowing the time that I need to rest or do something that just, it feels moderately indulgent in the moment, just to get through whatever is happening right now, so that I can then reorient towards reclaiming my radiance and feeling good about myself and shining that light. But if I'm being negatively, if I'm sitting there feeling guilt and shame about the fact that I feel bad, it just makes everything so much worse. So that took a really long time to begin to understand that that's the way for me, at least.
That's perfect. I think that's the way for a lot of women. And Marla, I'd love to hear from you as well. What do you do in daily practice now that you have reclaimed your radiance?
Absolutely. I definitely have a piggyback here and a candlelight for everyone. And that is one of the things that I do. I start my day with candlelight. And even if it's not truly, striking the match, it's lighting myself up, doing something. There's so many different routines and rituals. And if you don't do it in the morning, you do it midday. If you forget to do something to reclaim your radiance, you kind of have a calling to it. You remember, you engage with life, with people, and then it's rinse and repeat. I like to say, like, sweep it off. I've got to like get rid of some of this stuff. And then every day is like a rebirth, like a new beginning. It's a new chance to reclaim radiance. And I just love the conversation here and the connection for women to magnify the light. We are so much of the healers of the world, and we can contribute to this overall radiance of the sun. There is darkness, there is light, there's the sun and the moon. The moon on certain days it's super bright. That full moon, it's effulgent, but maybe that's the time to really go inwards. And maybe it's the new moon that you put something new into your life. But finding prosperity can be within yourself, and that's radiance. And literally lighting a candle, sitting for a few conscious breaths, allowing that to be a stream that just happens. It floods, and you don't have to say, I'm meditating. It's like turning your life into a walking meditation, where you can step your foot on the path and think, I am grateful. or I am graceful. And then you bring that to the next person. And bathing ourselves with love is first and foremost the numero uno. And I learned that early on, like nobody can take your peace away but you. So protecting the radiance, the electromagnetic field, which is, my arms now are stretched wide. So protecting that area, because people can feel you before you come into a room. And when we work to radiate and to be vivacious, we also have to remember that our energy is going to dip low, just like anyone else experiences. But how low do we want to go? How long do we want to stay low? So reclaiming radiance is a rebirth for me, and I find it to be an entry point, and to end up in rooms with people who have the same, my daughters, I have two, and both their middle names, one is Rose and one is Lily. So just to have some odd but unbelievable synchronicities. And when I was in the hospital and had my youngest daughter, I knew I was naming her Lily in the middle name, and we toyed with it as a first name. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, my older daughter has Rose in her middle name. So I hadn't even realized that like these flowers were in their names, but like there's just amazing synchronicities in life. And when we welcome in, whether it's God or whatever we believe in, love, light, this like higher source of energy in the world, and we allow that to come into our vibration, nobody's going to trip us up. We can trip ourselves up, but that's it. We can pick ourselves up too. So that's the radiance factor for me.
Thank you so much, Marla. And yes, you have demonstrated the ripple effect of that radiance. And part of that ripple is apparently all our synchronicities with the names Lily and Rose, because I actually have two little cousins who are sisters who are named Lily and Rose. So with that said, Rosalie, please share with us, what's the ripple effect of your reclamation of radiance, and how is that showing up in your life?
I love what Marla said and all of you said. For me, the reclamation of radiance is truly allowing the divine to live through me. And what I mean by that is tuning into my energetic state, regardless of what I'm doing. It could be anything. It could be taking out the trash. It could be showing up for my daughter. But tuning into the energetic state that I'm in and allowing that to pull me throughout the day, because I realize a lot of problems arise when we're unconscious of the fact, when we go on autopilot, when we're too busy to tune into life, which is allowing source, God, energy, whatever, the universe, to source from within you. And that's what brings life to everything. And when we lose that remembrance of our connection to all that is, it creates suffering. It creates sickness. And now I realize, if I can just tune into my breath, if I can tune into my presence, if I can tune into love, which is pure acceptance for all that is, and live from this energetic state and frequency, miracles will manifest in my life with ease. And this is what I help teach my clients on. I feel like the message that we're spreading for everyone is that we don't have to push so hard. It does not need to be exhausting. We do not need to self-sacrifice. We can live and love as truly from our eternal selves. And I think what we're all pointing to is the reclamation to the radiance is really knowing who we are from that soul level. Because when we think of, oh, I know who I am, we're tuning into the human self, the physical self. And what we're all pointing to is learning who you are as eternal self, your soul self, your unwavering, abundant, everlasting self. And when you can live from that place, that purifies from within, which is why I name my business The Purifying Place. It's like the fountain of life, right? It keeps you going. It's self-sustained. You have the understanding that this life, even when it's done, you're not done. It continues on. And so we can truly get out of our own way and serve and love from this place of abundance, and which brings, countless joy and blessings. And it gets to be easy when you live in that divine flow.
Thank you so much for that. And as we begin to wrap up, I'd love to hear from first Samantha, and then Erica. If somebody watching felt disconnected from their radiance, what would you want them to know? Samantha.
The first thing I think is to talk about it. Shame is dismantled through connection. And when we can actually share a story authentically, first start with the people you trust, especially if it's the first time you're getting it out. Like, I feel like a POS today. Like, I didn't get my to-do list done. I work a lot with high achieving perfectionist women. So it's about productivity all the time. What's my output? Like, how much of the to-do list can I do? And when you don't do that, you feel like your self-worth is constantly on the line, being earned or deserved, all of that stuff. So it's really just allowing yourself to explore the fact that community is there and there are people in your life that already care for you and love you. And when they say, I'm here for you, like actually believe it and reach out and use that resource. I think that would be honestly the first step is, can you allow yourself enough consideration and kindness that you can share with someone that whom you trust and also loves you back? Because the minute that snowballs, you'll be like, it's okay to share. Oh, they held me the way I needed to be held. And I allowed myself to be held the way I needed to be held. Because we can come up, all of us are brilliant, right? The 7 of us who are here, we're brilliant. But until we are ready, any one of you out there who is listening, until you are ready to own your story as valid enough, and I won't say 100% valid because sometimes we don't get there. We get there in phases. Valid enough to share. We can't give you tips and tricks and like ways to like solve the problem if you don't meet yourself where you are. You have to meet yourself where you are first and allow that to be normalized, honestly, like that we all experience shame. We've all been on that shame train, that negative spiral that our brain loves to fucking do and like go down there. But then can we also allow someone to be with us if we're going to spiral out? Can we allow someone to be with us and like share the shame that we all know so very well? And so that would be my first thing. And there's a plethora of things to do, of course, but I would start, can you give yourself enough consideration and kindness enough to trust that the people who love you can show up for you and that you can also give them your trust too, that they can hold you in the way that you need to be held in that moment.
Beautiful. And yes, we all need to release the shame of sometimes needing a little help. I always say, grab that crutch until you can walk on your own, because that's what it's there for. So thank you for that. And Erica, please share with us your last takeaway from today.
I love everything that Samantha said. Definitely on point for me as well. There's so many things I could say, but I think I really want to give everyone a really quick takeaway. So something that I've recently, in the last year or so, tried to practice is whenever you need to, an energy cleanse and reset. At any point, you can call back your energy that you have given out to others. So it doesn't have to be this big, crazy ritual. It can just be you saying to yourself or out loud for extra power, I recall all of the energy that I have given to people, places, or situations that do not serve me or serve them anymore, as well as I release all of the energy that others have given me that no longer serves me, that I no longer need to hold on to. And those two things can really help you reset your vibe and reset your energy for the day. So it's a great daily, morning practice if you need something quick and easy, or if you're feeling that extra anxiety throughout the day and you feel like people's expectations are sitting on you, release that, let that go, and it will help you come back down to center and that grounded energy that you can have. So
that was perfect, Erica. Thank you so much for that. And for everybody listening, if you want more of these ladies, number one, you can find them on social media. We have Dr. Alicia Antica, Gwen Isaacs, Erica Federley, Samantha Kareem, Rosa Lady Dona, and Marla Sachs. Go find them, go follow them, look at all of their offerings, but you can also find them all in one place. They will all be speaking in the 2026 Women Thrive Summit, which is to be held March 16th to 20th. You definitely want to get your registration. It is free to watch live. And you can upgrade to VIP to get all kinds of little goodies from all of our speakers. So please go find Women Thrive Media, join the Women Thrive Summit for 2026, follow these ladies, and we will see you there.